Welcome everybody to Casting for Two, the podcast which is hosted by me, that one random guy named Chris, who chats with really cool people and is very lucky and fortunate. Yeah, that's me. I'm that guy. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode number 69. And I have a wonderful guest, very wonderful guest, talented guest. As always, I would like to, you know what? Daredevil just came out this morning at 2 a.m. my time. I watched it. It's really good. I don't usually like to voice my opinion on things, even if I like it, because I want people to experience it for themselves. But Daredevil's good. So the show on Netflix. I got Netflix because 1 month free and for Daredevil. So, but you know what else is really good? Segue. My guest today. His name is Fred Thomas. He's in a band called Saturday Looks Good to Me, which is a great band. I suggest you check them out. But he has a solo album out right now, which is called All Are Saved. And once I listened to it, I was just blown away. I recommend everyone going and picking up at the record store, polyvinyl.com, which is just a great site to buy all sorts of music. They have wonderful artists there. I love Polyvinyl to death. I buy so many records from them. But I was excited to chat with Fred, and he's such a good guy, and I got to have him back on. But let's sit back, relax, and listen to Fred chat about his new album. And yeah, so Chris, can you please cue the music? Thank you. Hello.
Hello?
Hey, Fred.
How's it going?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Am I calling you too early?
No, you're right on time.
Cool.
How's your day going so far?
Day is good. Back from tour, and I don't know if I'm getting sick or not. I'm in that moment right now where I'm like on the precipice of, am I gonna be sick or not be sick? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's almost like, come on, if I'm going to be sick, just hurry up.
Oh, seriously, like if I'm gonna have like a flu, like just like let me be in the depths of it right now, not like this middle ground shit for a long time.
Right. It's like, let's just get it over with so I can be better. I can get on the road. I can eat solid food.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I think we're gonna bypass it, hopefully. But that's my day. That's my boring, like, pedestrian day, just hanging out, wondering if I'm ill or not. How about you?
There you go. Well, my day's not not like that. Wondering if I'm sick. But it's just as exciting. Just as exciting. I remember because my mom's a nurse, so whenever I would get sick, it was medication right away. Okay, let's get you medicated. Let's get this. And so when I was off at school for my very first time, I was getting sick, and I go, oh, great, I don't know what to do. So everyone always recommended vitamin C. Just doesn't matter how sick you get, just take lots of vitamin C.
Right, I heard that too.
So, but hey, it works. I'm not sick, so.
Right on.
Yeah.
Were you ready to record? Are you recording right now? Does it matter?
I am recording. It's a very loose show. We can literally talk about whatever.
Killer.
I always I love talking to people, but I love just chatting with people, getting to know somebody. I'm not one of these people that, so tell me, what's your musical? No, no.
Yeah, there's not that big of an agenda. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But I do have to give you a compliment. I was listening to the album, and I go, why is this voice so familiar to me? and it was I before I had purchased a couple of Saturday Looks Good to Me albums,
Yes. My
and
my
every night, since you stole my heart, that is, I guess that's my girlfriend and I's official song.
Oh, sweet.
So
Amazing.
yeah, and so I once I saw that I choked up a little bit. I go, oh, I gotta talk to him.
Well, do you have the LP is a little bit different than the CD because
Yeah.
I sing the song on the record,
Mhm.
and the version people know a lot is Betty Barnes singing on the CD. But so maybe you've heard both. Maybe I'm not sure which one is, if it's just the song is a song or any particular version is you guys a song. But that's really high praise. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I sent her the version that you sing, and she sent me the version where the lady sings.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, yes,
Can I tell you a funny story about that song?
of course.
Uh, I have so many songs, and they're all just kind of like, they can't all be autobiographical things. Like a lot of songs are fictitious or kind of made up from things. And that particular song, I was in a hot streak of just like writing song after song after song, and I started thinking about like when my parents met and imagining some scenario where they, were meeting and falling in love and having like those like younger feelings that when I was born, they were already like in their late 20s, early 30s. So I never thought of them as people who would, be traipsing around, kicking rocks and falling in love and, doing romantic stuff. It's just not how you think about your parents.
Yeah.
So I imagined, that song, Since You Stole My Heart, is like, my mom and dad falling in love, and they didn't see me play music. I played music since I was like 15, 14, and they didn't come to a show until 2004.
Oh, wow, okay.
At which point I was like, I, coming closer to 30 at that point. It's definitely like coming up on, I was probably like, 26, 27, can't remember exactly, but they came to a show in Ithaca, New York, and it was during like a super long tour, the end of like, really, really long stretch. And it's the first time they'd ever seen me. I was so nervous. And I was like, this next song is for my mom and dad. I love them so much. And, this is kind of about them. And they're just not the type of people who at that point, like, 10, 11 years ago, went to rock shows that much. And so I was like, what'd you think of that song? And they're like, yeah, people around, these strange looking people seem to be interested in your music. Seems like you really like it. It was like the most non-answer, kind of like, oh yeah, looks like you're doing good. I really just want to go back to the hotel and not be not be checking this out.
Now, are your parents musical at all, or?
People ask me that a lot, and my dad played banjo a little bit and guitar growing up, and had a real thing for like Appalachian music and like the Carter family, and always kind of had a dream of having like a family jam like that where everybody sang harmonies. But no, not so much. We've never like we you know messed around on acoustic instruments a little bit, but they are not songwriters. They're not people who even are hobbyists. They just kind of picked it up for a little bit in the late '70s and put it promptly back down.
Yeah, they let their kids, you guys kind of,
Yeah.
you guys play around with that.
Well, my sister's an amazing singer. She went to school for opera for a little bit. She's going to be she studied operatic vocals in college until she became a doctor instead. So she's doing everything perfect.
Now, I suppose, even though she's a doctor now, she probably could sing to her patients. Maybe some bad news.
Actually, her and her husband have I'm realizing like her and her husband have a band that I'm mastering for one of their CDs, and I'm helping out. Like she's as active as she can be with being like a parent of two and a full time like medical caregiver. She's just not trying to like play shows in Ohio right now like her brother is. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but she's great. She's talented.
There we go. Well, that's good that a talented family. Now, how many siblings do you have?
Just my sister, just Suzanne.
Okay, is she older or younger?
She's 3 years younger than me.
Okay, okay. I have an older sister too, and she was very musical in the beginning, or in high school, all that. Played band, sang, did plays, all that. And later on down the road, she kind of just decided, hey, I'm gonna be a psychologist instead, and
Oh, great.
so
That's,
I know she probably still has the pipes, but she doesn't like to unleash it.
well, I have found that like if you're in the arts at all, it's interesting in your sister's case. Like so many people I know who are creative, um, at a certain point, their goal becomes they just want to help people. I think that's kind of like the goal of a lot of people who are, painters or singers or songwriters or what have you, musicians, people interested in the arts. They eventually kind of like realize, well, this just the end goal. The whole fucking point of this is to like make people happier, give some hope. Maybe there's a more direct way I can do that and not be starving for the rest of my life. And a lot of people get into psychology or therapy of some sort. So it makes sense.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, and definitely. I mean, I don't know what if her musical career would have how it would have turned out, but I know she's happy right now. So I guess
Right on.
that's all that matters
Yeah.
in the end. So like I said, I was listening to the new album. I loved how raw it felt when I was listening to it. It just felt. Uh, I almost want to say that you just said, okay, let's hit record, and then you just sat there and played.
Well, one, thank you, because like having like a raw situation is my ideal. However, it could not be any further from just hitting record. It was definitely like super labor intensive.
Yeah.
So many different versions of the song. So many different oh my god, like archives worth of second takes, third takes, fifth takes, different arrangements, like different things. Like it's cool that it sounds as though it was just kind of like choked out on a Sunday afternoon, but it really did take a couple of years of a revision and things like down to like single lyrics, like certain times like, oh, this actually doesn't apply anymore. I can't in good faith have this be what I put on my record. So I would take the entire mixes and just like more or less scrap them so I could change like a single line or a phrase,
Mm-hmm. And what comes first? Is it the melody, the lyrics? What kind of pops in your head first?
I don't know. I'm sure it's different every time. Like so often for me, I'm just kind of like dicking around with some sort of new interesting instrument. I've never studied music. I'm not really good in the technical sense at anything. I can play guitar okay, but if you put me in a room with people who actually play music for a living, any jazz musician, they'd feel ashamed and embarrassed to be standing next to me. I'm terrible. But that said, if there's like a new interesting synthesizer in front of me, I can get lost for like a couple hours, and at the end of those couple hours, I will have like the backing track of a new song, and I'll just kind of build on top of that. And All Are Saved, the new record, that's so much of the record is kind of like, just countless nights of being in the basement, kind of playing with something, a borrowed piece of gear, an idea, like a new concept in recording somebody had told me, just kind of like chipping away at it until it became a song that kind of said what I wanted it to say. And that's all like a perpetual work in progress in that way,
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, definitely. However, whatever you're doing, it's working. 'Cause I absolutely loved it.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, I really am. I'm super, super happy with this record, but I'm so amazed at how it is a really, really raw record, and it's not super accessible. It's not something that sounds easily like boxed or anything like that. You can't really just be like, oh yeah, they're doing this thing, or Fred's kind of like going off on this kind of like tangent now that's easily understandable. But everyone's been so ridiculously friendly. No one's been like, what the fuck is this nonsense? He's just kind of talking over a steel drum for 20 minutes. Everyone's been really supportive, and the more raw the songs get, the more people seem to be relating to the sentiments, which is a cool surprise.
Now, I've never been on tour or anything like that. How's touring? Do you generally have a good time, or like I like traveling. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the idea of getting on a plane and going to the location, the process that it actually takes. But when I get there, I'm happy. What's it like for you?
Well, I mean, I've only ever how to answer this one? I've been touring since I was about 17. I'm 38 now, so it's about 21 years of traveling around the United States and parts of Europe and other like little countries, trying to take my songs to whoever wants to hear them. And there's an Elliott Smith song that has the lyric "Happy and sad come in quick succession." Have you heard that song ever?
I have not. What is it?
I can't remember which one it is. It's an Elliott Smith song off of Either or EXO. One of his like really, he's got so many songs, but there's that one line that always stood out to me. happy and sad come in quick succession because it absolutely defines what touring is. Like you can have the best night of your life for about 20 minutes and then the worst night of your life for about an hour and the same night. It's all like the peaks and the valleys are so punctuated, so intense, show to show, night to night, accommodation to accommodation, Waffle House to Waffle House, Taco Bell to Taco Bell. It's just really like um, it's a really sharp way to live. And people who've been doing it for a long time, I don't know. I mean, I've been touring for a long time, but like always on my own terms, never in a way that's been lucrative, or never toured in a tour bus. Always driven myself. Very rarely have had like anything besides like a really DIY approach to things. And people who've been touring for a long time and kind of have like all they know is just get in the bus, go to the next show, do the show again, do that, repeat for like 20, 30 years.
Right.
They become different types of people. It's a really strange way to be, I don't know a lot of people like that, but I'm not trying to generalize anybody because I'm sure people, can do whatever they want to. But I will say, like, touring it's a really strange, unique way to live. If you had told me, 10 years ago, oh yeah, like when you're like pushing 40, you're still gonna be like playing some of these same rooms, like playing with some of the same people. You're gonna be seeing people that you met in, 1999, or or having an interview right now about a song you wrote 11 years ago. I'd just be like, no. I'm gonna have a job. And be like, oh, things are gonna be cool. Like,
I'm going to be behind a desk. I'm going to have a stapler, a name tag. It's going to be great.
Exactly. But that said, this last tour I did was the tour that I slept the least on. Like I did about 18, 19 days, South by Southwest, did a couple of shows opening up for Deerhoof. My girlfriend Emily was with me for a little bit. She does performance art. So she performed at a lot of the shows. And somewhere right after Austin, she had to get on a flight to Montreal at 6 a.m. And so we just kind of started like, okay, well, we'll drive to the next show, which is in Arkansas. And then like from that show, we'll like play and then get paid and drive to the airport. Oh, the flight's delayed by 6-7 hours. Okay, let's hang out at the airport in Jackson, Mississippi until like 1 p.m. Oh, we haven't slept for 48 hours. Okay, well, got to play a show now. So, okay, have fun in Canada. I'll see you in a couple of days. Like, and I just kind of went from there where it's like, oh, like I just finished playing my show in Kentucky. It's like 1 a.m. I'll just drive to the next show. It's only 6 hours.
Yeah.
And there's kind of this thing where like at a certain point I was driving. I was like, well, I remember doing this 10 years ago when I was like touring all the time, and my body feels the same. My mind feels the same. I guess it's just how the Rolling Stones feel. I mean, they're probably just like, I'm just going to do this run again and play Jumpin' Jack Flash for the people again. And there's been so many people, every year more people like the Rolling Stones. So they're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so once you finally, played all your shows and went back home, how long did you sleep for?
That's the crazy thing. I really have not quite gotten back. Mm-hmm. That's probably why I'm feeling like I might be getting sick, because it might have been smart to sleep for a couple of days, but I just kind of like kept on rolling. Went to a couple parties, and I'm playing the show tonight in Detroit. So it's been home since Monday. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna keep rolling and see what happens.
There we go. Well, you just got to make sure to take care of yourself. All right, we need more music from you.
Thank you.
And we need you around. I'm sure your family needs you around. They like having you, I guess.
Yeah, well, I love them too. So yeah, we're gonna keep alive. Don't worry about that.
Now, when you're touring, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite song that you like to play in front of people?
That's a good question. Some of the songs on this record, I mean, I kind of have gauged certain records I've made by my own reaction to what I'm doing, which sounds probably pretentious as fuck, but there's certain songs that are like really, really personal on this record and were really difficult for me to actually get down on tape, because I'm talking about the first song on the album is about, a dog that I was very close to passed away a couple of years ago, and it was one of the most sad things that I've ever experienced. I love that dog so much, and to try to like express that in a song for one, and deal with all like the conflicting, garishness and vulgarity and just sad, like, oh, this is personal, but I want to talk about it, but I need to get over this, and I need to like, exalt this friend of mine who's no longer with me. Like, I couldn't record the song without weeping. I cried every time I tried to get it down on tape, until I almost became numb to the process, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, these are just my lyrics. They're at this point like they're about like 4 or 5 months old by the time I actually got a take of it. But still, sometimes when I play that song live, I start crying, which is so emo, so ridiculous to be like crying at your own show. But it's from a really real place, and in one way, I really love that song. You know, I really love playing that song for people, and I've had people respond with similarly like guarded hearts of like, oh yeah, like I had a dog I lost too. I know where you're coming from. I don't know if I want to share it. You know, I don't know. They say like I don't know if I want to like. I can tell. I can tell they're kind of trepidatory to be like, oh, let's bro down about our dead dogs. It's, like that's not exactly what we're going for. But there's there's a relation to the sentiment there, and so I love playing. I love playing that song. I love playing. Um, I don't know. Like I sometimes play like been playing music, writing songs with a bunch of different bands for a long, long time. So I have a whole bunch of songs I'm proud of and embarrassed of that go back to like the late '90s, early 2000s, and it's always fun when I sometimes like a couple of years ago I was on a tour, came through Philadelphia, and this guy that I used to see around Columbus, Ohio, when I was like living at punk houses, and he's still an activist, he's still a punk, and he's like, Fred, play the song from 1999 that you wrote, and I knew it, and I could just like play it. I was like, oh yeah, I've got this one for you, John. I haven't played it in about 12 years. There's no problem. They're all right up there, and that's like really like a fun, interesting challenge for me to remember a song I wrote when I was a very different person and be able to break it out for a friend or somebody who's a supporter. That's a really fun thing. That happens from time to time.
It's almost like your music is your own time capsule to like you said, how you were back when you were 17, younger. So
Oh yeah, or like last year or 2 years ago. Like I mean, it kind of is like similar to a photograph or like a photo album or a diary. If you're making something, I'm sure like anybody who creates art or makes art, they look at something they did their first year of college or like at any given age, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember how it felt to make that with my hands. I remember how it felt to like craft that from my experiences, and it will bring back some things, nostalgic or painful or cool or benign or whatever.
I remember a couple of years ago. I love film. I went to film school. Film is something that I really love. I watched the very first thing I ever shot, and I was so horrified with what I did, and I'm so happy I didn't release it. But my dad was just, "It's yours." I'm like, "No, no, it's okay. I'm good." But I see where he was coming from. But it's like,
Well, I mean, there's like, it is yours somewhere in the slipstream of history. It's definitely like maybe not something that you want to be like, let's revisit that in present day. Check it out. Like I'm pretty reticent to try to like, we just recently saw Saves the Day. You remember that band? They're just doing like the first tour my band Saturday Was Gonna Be ever did was in 2002 with Saves the Day opening up for them, and they play in Detroit. They're playing Through It Being Cool. They're kind of like big record. I was like, that's interesting. It's got to feel strange. Like this record's 15 years old now, and like they played it in like chronological order. Everyone was so stoked, and then they're like, okay, we're done playing the record now. Now we're going to jam for about 7 minutes and just do this kind of psychedelic like bug out, because I'm sure they're probably like, oh fuck, like we still stand by these songs, we still love them, we're so happy that people are getting turned on to these songs, but they probably don't feel them anymore. I mean, I know like most of the band wasn't in the band when it was made, and like even I don't know. I can't speak for them, but you see bands that like get back together or like do stuff that kind of like represents their for lack of a better term, like peak. And that must be a different way of looking at the past and how that must feel. It must feel kind of conflicting,
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. But did you? I don't have. I mean, like I said, I didn't really have any questions planned. I'm just kind of rolling with it. Do you have anything you wanted to talk about, or?
Well, I mean, yeah, off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything hyper pertinent to. I mean, at this point, like the record that is coming out on Tuesday, April 7th. I'm not sure when your podcast goes live.
It'll come out that week, so Thursday, Friday. So it's already out.
Okay,
and it's already sold millions. And they're backing up trucks of money and instruments.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think we had a respectable like count of like 120 pre-orders last time I checked, which is cool. It's not too bad for a downloadable culture. But I will say like just to speak on the record for a second, like you know I had maybe like an issue with not taking music super as seriously as other people do, and not in a way where I don't think it's worthwhile or valuable or really just like the most amazing thing. I'm making music all the time. I work at a recording studio, so I'm recording bands. I'm helping people do stuff. I have a bunch of different bands I work with. I'm always writing songs. I'm always curious about new sounds. I'm always kind of like in that world, and I really think that most of it's good, and even the stuff that's not enjoyable is good. So my point is that like I've made so much music, and I'm not really trying to like most of the time I'm not trying to sell my product or be like, oh, I got this brand new song. It's the epitome of everything I've ever done. It's just like, oh yeah, this is what I did this month, or this is what I did today, or here's like a jam with these friends, and here's what it sounds like. I'm gonna put out a tape of it and whatever. However, this record, all I say, if this new one came out this week, I worked on it for such a long time. It really means so much to me that the people at Polyvinyl liked it enough to put it out. They certainly didn't have to. They've rejected solo records of mine in the past, hand over fist. You know, they definitely like they definitely saw something in it, and felt something that I feel too. I really feel like it's like as close to an articulation of what I wanted to say um, as I've ever gotten. You know, in like a life of making music and a life of attempting to get closer to communicating things with people through songs and maybe offering some sort of like, you know, some sort of hope or some sort of like counterpoint or some sort of just some to offer something to people that they haven't gotten yet. And the reason we're talking right now is because that translated to at least a couple people, and I hope that, and it seems like it has to you too. So thank you for listening, and just thanks for giving me a chance to talk to everybody about it, because I really care about this record a lot, in a way that's kind of surprising and confusing for myself even. So I really hope everybody likes it. It means a lot to me.
I First of all, no, like thank you for making the music, but how do you? I just thought of another question. How do
Sure.
you feel? How do you prefer your music? You know, now since you mentioned Polyvinyl, who I love, they they do the coolest thing where they release records.
Yeah.
And I love buying records, and I'm gonna pick up yours on record because I like to support the artist. And MP3s are nice, but I'd rather have the record. Just it's my own personal preference.
Yeah.
What's your preference?
Man, I mean, I worked at a used record store
Mm-hmm.
in Ann Arbor for years, and like it was the type of thing where everyone who worked there was like they loved records, they loved LPs. Like the weirder and like the more strange and the more rare it was, like they'd fight over it. Like if anything made it to the floor, it was a miracle, you know. So I love records. I love like I don't know though. I really like we got a couple records on tour. We found Daniel Johnson record, and then I was like, I really want to get this new. I want to get Taylor Swift's new record on vinyl because I love it. I think it's really good. Like so, I like the most obscure and the most mainstream. Like I love it all. I think it's great, and I definitely listen to records more than anything else. But I also like I got Spotify on my phone. Listen to that when I'm driving. Like I really like as long as you're listening to it, it kind of doesn't. If you're paying for it and supporting the artists, that's great. But um, as long as something's connecting, that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. And so for the people at home who want to pick up the record and follow you, where can they do that?
Um, I'm all over like fredthomasmusic.com is my website officially. Uh, Fred Thomas Music at Twitter, Fred Thomas at Instagram. Like I put up just mostly like funny personal stuff on all that. I really am not trying to be like, hey everybody, let's like buy some shit from me. I'd rather just kind of like be like, oh, here's a funny thought. What if like gutter punks were punks who had like a gutter cleaning business?
Right.
That's my Twitter mo rather than like, please download my life or whatever. So or you can like email me if you want to get in touch or put on a show. Is westsideaudio@gmail.com. I'm pretty approachable person, and polyvinylrecords.com has all they can sell you a record, and they've got all sorts of really nice packages, and all the artists on the label are great too. Like Deerhoof of Montreal, always amazing Canadian band. Got to see them a couple times in Texas, and yeah, like they can sort that stuff out.
There we go. So Fred, I gotta let you go. Unfortunately, I had a blast talking with you. I feel like you need to take this time to get ready for your show and medicate yourself.
Well, I think I'm going to do that. Thank you so much for talking with me today, and yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great.
Thank you, and you have a wonderful day. All right.
Okay, you too. See ya.
Bye bye. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, you can always catch up with these episodes on castingfor2.com. You can also follow me at Twitter @castingfor2 or send me an email at castingfor2@gmail.com.